Greetings everyone. First of all, apologies for my voice, because in this video I'm gonna sound like I have been gargling nails, because I feel like I've been gargling nails. I want to talk to you about conservative reaction to the whole recent goings on with Bud Light. I might be a little bit late on this, but I wanted to throw in my 2 cents and give my opinion. Now, for those of my more regular viewers who do not know who Dylan Mulvaney is, apologies, but I'm going to bring him to your attention and you'll now know that he exists. Now, this video certainly isn't to make fun of, criticize, or mock Dylan Mulvaney. He's somebody who has a mental illness and he needs help. He certainly shouldn't be encouraged in what he does and promoted. He just needs some kind of help. But I don't think he is the problem. He is just a symptom of what's going on generally. He's a symptom of the culture battle, the culture war, if you like. But for those who haven't heard of him, and I'm sure many of you have, he's basically a guy who decided at a certain point that he was a woman. Actually, before that, he decided that he was non-binary.
I finally came out publicly 6 months after the first time I told someone I was non-binary. Looking back, I've lived so much of my life feeling that way, if not all of it, and I just didn't have a word for it.
But then he changed his mind and decided he was a woman and started making these womanhood videos, this diary of womanhood, if you like. Here was the one he did on the first day.
Day one of being a girl, and I have already cried 3 times. I wrote a scathing email that I did not send. I ordered dresses online that I couldn't afford. And then when someone asked me how I was, I said, I'm fine, when I wasn't fine. So, how'd I do, ladies? Good?
And then he would continue to make these videos throughout. I think he reached a full year. Did 365 days of womanhood, and then I think he maybe even continued on after that, I'm not sure. Now, he became famous on a social media platform called TikTok. TikTok is Chinese made, Chinese run. There are strong rumors that it's essentially spyware, but the other thing that I think it actually is a propaganda tool for the Chinese government, because most of the TikTok content put up from Europeans and from people in the USA is absolute woke nonsense. So then China uses that to show to their population and say, hey, look at these people, they're crazy, look at them, it's the decadent West. We don't want to be like them. And I've heard that the TikTok videos put up by Chinese people are far more normal. There'll be things like a child playing the piano or something. So Dylan Mulvaney was inorganically made famous on TikTok. They basically wanted this character to become famous, so they must have put him out there, and now he's garnered almost 11 million followers on that platform. And after that came invites to various podcasts and shows. He was even invited onto Drew Barrymore's talk show that she seems to have now.
I look at someone like you, and I can't imagine anybody disliking you.
Oh, please. Do you want to know, ironically, who dislikes me the most sometimes?
Who?
Myself.
Oh, me too. Oh. But I guess, you've asked me now,
He was invited to the White House to speak to Joe Biden about trans issues.
It feels like Republicans have turned trans and non-binary people into this thing to blame society's downfall on in some ways. And this narrative is not only dangerous to our mental health, but also our physical safety. And particularly trans women of color are being murdered at an alarming rate.
More than any other group of people.
Thank you. How can Democratic leaders be more effective in advocating for us trans people and our families and our lives and our opportunities?
He's been paid by Nike to advertise women's clothing. Despite believing that he is a trans woman, he hasn't actually gone through any of the physical bodily transition, so he still has the male body, the natural male body that he was born with, and yet he was advertising Nike women's clothes that got a lot of people very upset. And Bud Light, and this is what I'm coming to, this is the thing that I want to talk about specifically, Bud Light, the beer, owned by Anheuser-Busch, decided to stick his face on their can.
Hi! Impressive carrying skills, right? I got some Bud Lights for us. So, I kept hearing about this thing called March Madness, and I thought we were all just having a hectic month, but it turns out it has something to do with sports. And I'm not sure exactly which sport, but either way, it's a cause to celebrate. This month, I celebrated my day 365 of womanhood, and Bud Light sent me possibly the best gift ever, a can with my face on it. Check out my Instagram story to see how you can enjoy March Madness with Bud Light and maybe win some money too. Love ya! Cheers! Go team! Whatever team you love, I love too. Okay. Love ya. Okay, break a leg.
And they also had him advertising Bud Light in one of his videos where he was in a bathtub drinking some Bud Light. And this was the thing that got conservatives mad. They reacted furiously to this. You can't have this guy on a can who's pretending to be a woman, because a lot of people say that what he's doing is woman face. When he's made his videos saying, you know, day 50, day 80 of being a woman, they felt like it's offensive to women. He's pretending to be a woman. You know how you have blackface, where people would put black makeup on their face and pretend to be a black person when they were not? This is what they feel is happening with women now when he does that. And so, yeah, conservatives got mad. Here's Kid Rock, who I suppose sees himself as a right-leaning conservative, reacting to this. He decides to open fire on some cans of Bud Light.
Bud Light and Anheuser-Busch.
Now here is my issue with this. Why does it take such an extreme for conservatives to suddenly react? Do you not feel, audience, that so many so-called conservatives have receded extremely far, and then they'll only occasionally react to something when it comes glaringly obvious right in their face? So they'll go, oh yeah, I'm okay with this and I accept this, but this, no, this is too far. Because guess what? In a few years, that won't be too far anymore. That's going to be fine, and it will be the next thing that's even more shocking that's going to be too far for them. Let's take Bud Light, for example. This is not a surprise that Bud Light did this, at all. Bud Light has proudly been pro-LGBTQ for a long time. In fact, because Bud Light receded slightly after they received such negative backlash over this Dylan Mulvaney being on their can, and decided to sort of step back a bit and say, no, this is not what we meant. They then received a lot of backlash from liberals who were saying, hey, what are you doing? Why are you suddenly apologizing for this? And they didn't really apologize, but that's kind of how liberals saw it. Bud Light poured decades of LGBTQ allyship down the drain, and now everyone's mad. Amid several weeks of culture war panic, the beer marketer has possibly thrown out decades of goodwill, as they call it, because remember this is a liberal website, and soured the audience of drinkers it needs to woo. So basically when this whole Dylan Mulvaney thing happened, lots of conservatives and right-wingers just started boycotting Bud Light. I mean, a lot of people said they didn't drink Bud Light anyway, they didn't like the taste of it, but a lot of other people who maybe did buy it said, right, that's it, they're done. They're not going to be buying this anymore. And Bud Light did lose a heck of a lot of money after this whole thing. So then they receded slightly. And here's one of the many articles saying, oh, what are they doing? They've been pro-LGBT for such a long time. Why are they stepping back and now apologizing for this? It's true. They have been pro-LGBT for a very long time. Here is a commercial that they did 7 years ago in 2016.
The Bud Light party here celebrating Steve and Greg's wedding.
Gay weddings, they're just like any wedding. You've got cringeworthy speeches.
Can everybody's attention, please? It's probably the last time you're gonna be seeing me for a while.
Girl who's super ready to settle down.
Get it! Oh! Yes!
And hey, Bud Light proudly supports everyone's right to marry whoever they want.
To the groom!
And the groom.
And here's another commercial featuring those same two, Seth Rogen and Amy Schumer. This one was from the Super Bowl in 2016.
Bud Light Party is going to address the issues that matter.
We are gonna bring America together. Hard.
It's a party for everyone. Men,
Women.
people of all genders.
But, you know, gender identity, it's really a spectrum, and we don't need these labels.
Beer should have labels, not people.
Kablam!
We don't care. We'll sell you beer.
We'll sell you a beer any day of the week.
So you can't really watch that commercial and then be surprised by what's happened now. In that commercial, they're saying, you know, oh, there are so many identities, so many gender identities, and we should stop with these labels. So, of course, why wouldn't they plaster this guy on their can who says he's a woman? Why would they not do that? And it's taken this for people to react. And this is what I'm sick and tired of. I've seen it in the UK, okay? There's no conservatism really in the UK. At least certainly not politically there isn't. There is no Conservative Party, okay? To those people who are outside of the UK, we do not have a Conservative Party to vote for. We don't. We don't have that anymore. People in the USA still have that. They've got the Republican Party. Yes, of course, there might be some people in that party who are not really seen as to be properly conservative, but generally speaking, I would still say there's quite a clear difference between the Democrats and the Republicans in the USA. We don't have that at all here. We really don't. The only difference between the Labour Party, the left-wing party, and the Conservative Party, the right-wing party, is some general fiscal financial differences. And that's pretty much it. And maybe the Conservatives here are slightly pushing back, but ever so slightly pushing back against this full-on wokeism, because it's so strong and so heavy and in their face. But not too much, just a little bit. They accept this and that, as I said, but maybe just not this, at least not yet. But they will maybe later on. So that's what's going to happen here. People are really upset now that Dylan Mulvaney was on this can of Bud Light. But give it a little bit of time, they won't care about that anymore. It'll be another issue. People will say, oh, yeah, you know what? I'm fine with trans people. They can be on products, you know, whatever, it doesn't matter. I just think we should still refer to them as trans people. Because that's going to be the next thing. That's my prediction. I've made that prediction before. You won't be able to say trans man and trans woman in the future. That's what I think. I hope it doesn't happen. But I think that's what's going to happen. Because people are going to say, no. If this person's transitioned, let's say they used to be a woman and now they're a man, it's going to be considered rude to call them a trans man. They're going to say, no, you don't need to say the trans part. You just need to say man because they're a man now and that's all that matters. They see themselves as a man. They're a man. Don't say the trans part. That's what I think is going to be the next move. And that might be when Conservatives say, no, we're fine with trans people. It's fine. But I do think that you shouldn't take that trans label away because then you can't really tell. And then there's going to be a whole argument. Well, what's the difference? Why do you need to know what they used to be? It's what they are now. That's what matters. So please, Conservatives, stop with the phony outrage. If you really have an issue with something, don't leave it to the last minute to complain about something when it's clear that for many years this has already been happening. This whole Bud Light thing is a perfect example of that. Thanks for watching.